So you had a good month last month. You launched a product and people came to your call or your masterclass or your challenge and you're like, "Man, I'm just going to rinse and repeat that same exact strategy. I'm going to do it again and let's see what happened." But then when you go do it, the results is not the same. And then you're hesitating like, "What did I do wrong this month that I didn't do last month?" Hey, it's your girl Sherry Smarbell, and let me tell you, if you're not experiencing this right now, call me because there's a lot of people who are reaching out to me right now and they're saying the exact same thing what I'm saying. Like what's worked for one month is not working for the other month. So how do I create data around what's working if every month there is the different ease and flows, ups and downs? How do I know what's working? And that's what we're going to talk about today. If you're new to my space, it's your girl Sherry Summerbell. I'm super excited to be here. I specialize in sales. I am your sales business coach where we teach you biopsychology and creating a business that you don't want to retire from. So I'm excited to be here. And the reason I want to start with that is because I was having the same thing too as well. The first thing I did is I started trying to figure out if you have ever been on my masterclass. I have a masterclass that I host on Thursdays, how to craft a message to get people to say yes to you. And in that masterclass, I will ask Q&A from people. And that is the number one challenge people have because they would start something and they will buy a course that says, this is the thing that you should do. You should create stories on Instagram. You should do a masterclass or you should do a challenge. And be that it may that they're and let me just paraphrase by saying everything they're saying is correct. Everything works. We're going to get into what that looks like later, but we just want to paraphrase that everything works. So in that space, everyone is telling you that this is what you should do. This is the thing that you should work on. And then when you try to do it, when you try to launch it, even if it worked this month, it doesn't work next month. And you're like, why? What is going on? Why am I not seeing the consistent 'cause remember you said follow one course until successful. I'm big on that. But what does what does that look like? Right? If we're gonna focus, how do we actually focus? So I'm just gonna dive into that and what that looks like for me. And one of the things I want to share with you here, I'm looking down because I want to be able to make sure I capture everything even with my notes. We are in a season right now where it just seems like whatever you try to do, even if it works like in April and then you try to do it in May and then you try to do it in June, it's just not working. You're like, Sherry, I'm ready to throw out the baby at the bathwater because it's just not working. And then you're like, okay, let me buy a course because they say this is the thing that work. And then you buy the course and it doesn't work. So what worked for this season 2026? What works for that? What is the thing that's working for people right now? So I'm going to be sharing with you what works for me. I'm going to be sharing with you what works for my business because I was saying it the same thing as well. And a matter of fact, I'm just going to be throwing out some things that I was doing, how I arrived at what is working for me right now. So the challenge that I was having in my business, I was having that exact challenge, which is why I did this video. I would I would start writing on my stories, right? And my story would get a lot of scenes based on how many people I have on my Instagram page. But then there weren't really sales that was coming from my stories. I'm like, okay, well that and I followed that for a good month or two consistently to see what would happen. And then I said, okay, well let me post on Instagram every single day to see if that will make a change in my business. And I'm like, okay, well that really not moving the angle. So what do I need to do? And then I said, okay, well, let me run my digital product by Buyer Ready Messaging Matrix. It's been a great product. I was sold 175 plus in 30 days. So I said, let me try that. Let me see if that working. And be that in May, that worked really well and still working, still making sales with this product. So I said, okay, well, let me that's working. Let me try something else. So as you can tell, if you're hearing the pattern of what I'm doing is I keep changing the strategy. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm doing, but as long as you know why you're doing it. And for me, I was just data testing to see what work, what doesn't work, data testing to get an idea of what is working and what is not working, what I can say, what won't get my attention. And as I did that, as I data test to see, okay, is this thing working? Is this what I need to do? I started deciding after after going back and forth with myself, I started deciding, okay, what would be, let's slow down. Let's take a look at where all my existing clients were coming from. Let's slow down, just take a step back, reverse engineer. Let's figure out where all my clients are coming from. And I host my masterclass. People would apply to work with me based on their customization of their business. So we have an application process where people can come in, complete application, and then we have a 30-minute conversation to about their customizable business. Because when we're in a masterclass, there are different businesses that are on there. So to get that hands-on customization for their business, they will come to and apply, and then we'll, based on the application, we would say yes to setting up a 30-minute conversation to see where you are in your business. Well, how are you doing that? Now, let me so at first I was like, okay, well, that is what's working. But when I did my research, I realized that most of those people who was coming in to join our program, joining our next move and community, and join our Be Seen, Be Heard program that we have, those people, before they even had said yes to us, they had already did the due diligence. They already had watched my YouTube channel. They already had did my podcast, binge in my podcast. They have already been on my Instagram. And so they already had did their due diligence. Why am I telling you this? Because I wrote down today, I wrote down what's really working right now is what I call the blended buyers. So I was saying, oh, okay, well, I just need to do this one thing. I just need to focus on doing this masterclass every week. When truth of the matter is, that sounds good. That sounds good and dandy, but excuse me. That sounds good and dandy, but these people who are new, who are cold audience, they need some place that they can go to really dive into your belief system, your point of view. And that's what this space is made for. So when you are having like a long form content, whether it's your YouTube or your podcast, I learned all of that is part of your ecosystem. Yeah, you heard me right. All of that is part of your ecosystem. So if you drop one thing and says, you know what, no one is coming from my YouTube channel, I'm going to stop posting my YouTube. Nobody's coming from my podcast, I'm going to stop doing my podcast. If you drop one of that, you may have just dropped a leg of how people like, know, and trust you. Because when I created this YouTube channel, it was more for a nurturing for the people who have already been on my email list, who is already watching me, so they can get to know what my belief system is, how my marketing, how my point of view, what my mindset is. It wasn't necessarily like just for new people coming in. Great, because YouTube will do the heavy lifting and then move the algorithms. But truth of the matter is, I was intentional about what my long form content would be for. So where am I going with this? My long form content is directly designed to nurture my existing people who were just being introduced to me or on my email list. So it wasn't technically going out there to get new people. It was more so we're not looking for big views on it. We're looking for the existing people who are already on my email list or who have already discovered me somewhere on Instagram, that they can come back here and see what I'm talking about. What's my strategy? Does the thing relate to them? Are they sharing the same mission? Are they sharing the same point of view? So if I cut that leg off, I will be missing it'll take longer for the conversion to happen. Oh, this is so good. I hope you're getting what I'm putting down. So if you have a business model where you have incorporated long form content into that business model, I want you to understand, and you're feeling like, hey, I don't need to do this because the sales not coming from that. In 2026, it may be coming because it's a blended buyer. Let me also go back just a little bit. Prior to 2026, you could create and audience from, I want to say I've been in games since 2016. So from 2016 to 2024, 2025 time, you could generate leads, they come into your funnel and then move through your funnel, right? You may have an offer. You may have an offer. You know what? Let me just pull up my whiteboard so you can see. All right, so let's rock and roll. So I want to say 2016 to 2025. This is what, for me, I believe that was working at time 2016, 2025. So you could have a funnel, and inside of that funnel, there are different steps. So the first steps is where they come into your funnel. Doesn't matter where they come in from, whatever social media they come in from. And then what would happen here is in that space, you would give them I'm going to say a lead magnet. So you give them a lead magnet, and then after they get the lead magnet, they will be introduced to your first offer, right? So they will be introduced to your first offer. And then they will get like a series of emails. So they'll have email number 1, email number 2, email number 3, and over here the same way, kind of email 1, email 2, email 3, and so on. So your lead magnet here, right? These email was to introduce them to this thing here, to whatever your first offer is. And let's say they decided that they don't want to take your first offer, then you would probably have a down sale offer. You have a down sale offer that these emails right here would introduce them to. And there'll be 1, 2, and 3 emails that if they say no to your down sale offer, you may kind of repeat back the sequence again with these emails, right? So that's how it used to be in 2016 to 2025. That is how it used to be. Now, and it worked for a bit, because you could create this funnel. You create this funnel, and it was all she wrote. You just set in and forget it, because all your job is now is to bring in the volume of people to go through the funnel. But what we're seeing happening, people are not jumping over to the next funnel. They're sometimes staying here. They're sometimes staying here in the lead magnet and don't go any further. Or if they go to the first offer, they just stuck right there, right? They're not going to the back end. Nothing is happening on the back end of that offer, right? Nothing is happening. So we had to figure out a way, how do we change that? How we get people to ascend, right? People weren't ascending to the offer. So, and at first it worked. So we had to change now of what we had to change this model. Now, does it mean that you need to throw out your funnel? No, it does not mean that you need to do that at all. But it's important to understand that in 2026, things have changed, right? So it's now what happened is, if people are taking longer to say yes, but their way of saying yes now is a little bit different, because their way of saying yes, you could have a offer, right? You could have an offer, and the way you get people to that offer, whatever your conversion tool is, and conversion just means the way you get people to convert into whatever that thing is. So let's say you have a conversion tool of, let's say you're doing a challenge, because I'm well known for doing challenges. I haven't done one in a while, but let's say you're doing a challenge. So your way to convert people is through a challenge. What is happening now, because right now what we're seeing happening, instead of that funnel where you're moving people and with those emails into a funnel, what's happening now, to get people to your conversion, your goal is to fill up that challenge. So now everything on your IG page, need to talk about that challenge. Everything on your Facebook page, need to talk about that challenge. Everything on your email, go back to that challenge, right? Everything on your long form, go back to that challenge. Your ads, go back to that challenge. So what we're seeing, this is what I mean, a blended buyer. So this buyer will come in, let's say from your ads, And then they may even get a series of emails, right? Email 1, email 2, right? Which be the email right here. And it talks about your challenge. So you have that one conversion, but that one conversion leads to your offer. This is important for the one conversion leads to your offer. This is important to know. Is completely different from the funnel and waiting 2 weeks for people to see your after your lead magnet, waiting for people to see your offer. People will come into whatever your conversion is, whatever the challenge, whether it's a masterclass, whatever it is for you, and they can come straight to your offer. But the marketing around it comes straight here. Now, some people are saying, Sherry, well, I can't do a challenge. You can take out a challenge for a masterclass, a book, a call, whatever it may be. But that is what's happening right now. That is what's happening right. In order to move the angle, all of these things, your YouTube channel, your Instagram, all of these things are helping build your ecosystem of one thing, of this one offer. You may lead everybody to this one thing, and they come, whether it's live or whether it is pre-recorded, but you're leading them to that one thing that talks about that offer. So all of these things is working in conjunction. That's why I say it's blended. It's blended, working in conjunction. Even if you have a digital product, because I talk about digital product all the time, even if you have a digital product, that digital product, that they say yes to your digital product, should lead them back to here, should lead them back to this system right here. So that's all so important. So all of this marketing, all of this is marketing. So all of this marketing things that are happening right here, they have a strategy leading back to the main thing. So any post on IG, anything that you do, you actually have something leading back to that offer. So you're filling the gap here with the people that you need, like filling the gap here. That's where that gap, that's what you're filling, because it's going to come over to this. This is so important for you to know, and they'll have you all over the place. The good news and challenging news, because I don't like the word bad. The bad news is, the challenging news is, all of this is still going on, right? So you're thinking, oh, I can get rid of this thing, I can get rid of email. No, you can't. They're all part of your ecosystem. But the good news is, everything is leading to one conversion, versus back what I just showed you. They get on your lead magnet, you offer them one offer to them, and because people are not ascending, so this is another great way of having all your marketing materials go to one conversion, and that conversion lead to your offer, and boom, be done. And they'll do the heavy lifting for you. I would love to know how you feel about this business model, because I think this is very. And the other thing to note about this business model is, now is your marketing. You just know, you wake up every day and you know what your marketing is. Your marketing is to get everybody to that conversion space. So you're not having like 10 different offers. My job is to get everybody to that one conversion area. What is that one area that I'm going to convert everybody? That is your new way of doing things. So I was taking some notes here, and I want to write down some of the things that I said, and some of the things I talk about. We went from sending the emails, to getting opens, to getting clicks, to getting sales, posting content, to getting engagement, to getting leads. Went from running webinar, to getting attendees, to getting buyers. But that, we don't have that anymore. That was so 2016, right? Now it looks like someone see your reel. 2 weeks later, they see your Facebook post. A month later, they hear your podcast. They ignore your 3 emails. They Google your name. They buy your book. They attend your masterclass. They apply 45 days later. And none of your tracking show the whole story. So you're thinking, hey, it's not working. See, the problem is that none of it is working independently I want you to understand that. What you're experiencing is what I'm calling the blended buyer journey. I literally just kind of show you that there. People aren't converting from one touch point anymore. They're converting from accumulation of touch point. One email doesn't do it. One reel doesn't do it. One podcast doesn't do it. One masterclass doesn't do it. But somehow all of them work together to produce a client. And that's what I want you to take away from this podcast episode. But that's why when you stop doing one thing of within that 6 weeks later, revenue drops because all of it worked together as an ecosystem. I want to know what you think. So comment below. I would love to hear your feedback on this because this was an eye opener for me in my business. When so what does that mean? I'm still waking up to sales. I'm still waking up to people buying my book, the challenge code. I'm still waking up to digital products, and I'm still doing my masterclass. And so it's all of that is coming in. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. Sales are still coming in, and I welcome it. So in this new season, in this new way of marketing your business, and all of it is contributing to trust because the thing wasn't producing sales directly. It was producing trust. So all of those emails and ads and all the things is building trust. So people randomly buy a digital product, randomly apply. The weekly masterclass continue to be the application. So I want you to understand that if you're thinking like you're all over the place, you are not. You're not all over the place. It's the blended buyer journey. And I love it here because it just kind of be like this surprise, you got to sell. And I love it. So continue all the different pieces that you're doing. Because it to me sounds less like a marketing problem and more like a patience problem, right? Not because you're impatient, but because you're trying to measure certainty in the marketplace that no longer gives certainty. A better question might be, what activities consistently produce sale, even if they don't immediately cause sale? And that's what I want you to think about. Right? All right. That's all I got for you today. It's your girl, Sherry Summer Bell. Love to hear your comment below on this one. I will be reading all of it. Don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell. Talk to you soon.